HIMS and HERS Health, which is ticker HIMS, crashed huge today. If you're watching in the future, this was Monday, June 23rd's price action. The stock ended the day down 34.63%, losing more than a third of its value in a single day. After hours, the stock's up about 5% roughly. That after hours move after a day like this typically gives you an idea of what's going to happen the following day, but we'll have to wait and see what the stock price does for the rest of this week. This big time drop comes as Novo Nordisk and HIMS and HERS Health partnership absolutely collapsed within the snap of a fingers. There are big time accusations on both sides of this. We're going to dive into both sides and what this means for the stock price moving forward and what I'm personally doing with my shares of HIMS and HERS. I'm excited to get into this video, but first, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button. We just recently passed the 7,000 subscriber mark. I'd love to hit 10,000 by the end of the year. So if you want to help us out on that goal, click that subscribe button. And if you want to hear more about HIMS and all the other stocks I'm buying, selling, holding, consider joining us in the Patreon. We're about to pass 150 members in there. We were talking about this news story with HIMS as it developed today in the community chat. So go ahead and click the link in the pinned comment or the description area down there to gain access to that. Let's jump into the video. So a really quick backstory. HIMS and Novo Nordisk had a partnership to sell Novo Nordisk's Wegovy on their platforms. So this is one of the branded GLP-1 drugs that helps with weight loss. It's one of the most popular ones up there with Ozempic. And since there was a shortage of the GLP-1 medications for a little while, the FDA allowed these compounded versions of the GLP-1 drugs. And these are basically just generic versions of the branded drug that typically sell way, way cheaper, which is obviously way more enticing to the consumer and can definitely hurt the drug manufacturer who's selling the branded product at a much higher price. And as we know, the pharmaceutical industry as a whole is very serious about their intellectual property being protected. So the reason Novo Nordisk ended this partnership so abruptly is because they're saying that HIMS is continuing to sell those compounded GLP-1 drugs. Which, if that's true and Novo Nordisk is correct that HIMS is still doing that, they are breaking the law at that point. But what HIMS is saying is, yes, they are still selling some of those compounded drugs, but within the legal parameters. They're selling personalized doses of the drug, saying that such sales are allowed when patients need a dose that the company does not provide. So to sum up Novo Nordisk's side, they're mad because they think that HIMS is still selling a ton of these GLP-1 drugs at a way cheaper price, and that's not helping Wegovy whatsoever at all. And this partnership is not a benefit to them because they believe HIMS is illegally selling a large amount of these compounded generic GLP-1 drugs. Now, from the other side, HIMS and HERS management team has already responded to this with the CEO making a public statement. See it here. We are disappointed to see Novo Nordisk management misleading the public. In recent weeks, Novo Nordisk's commercial team increasingly pressured us to control clinical standards and steer patients to Wegovy regardless of whether it was clinically best for patients. We refuse to be strong-armed by any pharmaceutical company's anti-competitive demands that infringe on the independent decision-making of providers and limit patient choice. We take our role of protecting the ability of providers and patients to control individual treatment decisions extremely seriously, and we will not compromise the integrity of our platform to appease a third party or preserve a collaboration. The health and wellness of individuals always comes first. This is such a breath of fresh air in the healthcare space. This is why people are behind HIMS. This is a company that's disrupting the healthcare space by giving the patient the choice and giving the provider the choice and not allowing pharmaceutical companies to call the shots, not allowing insurance companies to call the shots. We want the individual to be calling the shots. That is healthcare empowerment at its finest. This mission and this vision is what got me interested in HIMS and HERS Health stock in the first place. And I'm very happy to see that the CEO is not bending his knee. He is truly standing for what he believes, and he's prioritizing the long-term health of the business, even if it means it might be painful in the short term as this collaboration and partnership with Novo Nordisk ends so abruptly with a lot of negative media surrounding it. So what does this mean for HIMS stock price? In the short term, there's probably going to be some volatility. But over the long term, this is a huge deal and it's actually a positive thing, okay? If you're someone who's primarily in this stock for GLP-1 drugs, weight loss drugs, then maybe this was a crushing day for you and you might be reconsidering your position. But to me, this is way more than a Wegovy subscription, okay? HIMS is a long-term vision of disrupting the healthcare space by taking the decision-making away from pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies and giving it back to the doctor and the patient, the two people who actually really matter in a healthcare setting. And the CEO will do anything to ensure that that vision is realized over the next decade plus. So what am I doing with HIMS and her stock? Not only am I holding 100% of my shares, but I'm buying more. I bought more as the stock was dipping more and more today. I bought 3 separate lots of shares in 2 separate accounts today. First purchase order was filled at $48.55. Second purchase order was filled at $44.11. And the third order was filled at $43.67. Because you know what also dropped 30%? Not just the stock price. The stock price isn't the only thing that dropped 30%. The valuation just dropped 30% as well. For me to be getting HIMS and hers at a forward PE of roughly 63 right now, with over 100% revenue growth, over 300% net income growth, over 400% operating income growth, these extremely impressive long-term growth outlook numbers of $6.5 billion of revenue by 2030 and $1.3 billion of adjusted EBITDA by 2030. Are those numbers going to be challenged a little bit by this? Maybe, but I think they were sandbagging when they put those numbers out anyway. Also, this partnership was in its infancy whenever they put those target numbers out. So I seriously doubt that a large portion of that $6.5 billion of revenue by 2030 and $1.3 billion of adjusted EBITDA by 2030 was projected to be due to this Novo Nordisk partnership. So to me, this drama show is a blessing in disguise. I don't plan on exiting this position anytime soon. I actually want to build my position way bigger than I have it right now. And I'm continuing to buy shares. And this stock being down 30% today was a big time blessing for me, because I was thinking, man, I'm going to have to buy this stock at $60. No, I'm able to buy this stock in the 40s today. Now, I'm not saying I want a bunch of bad news to come out with HIMS and a bunch of partnerships to end or anything like that. But I will say I welcome any of these fear-based drops, any of these short-term drops that don't negatively affect the long-term vision of the company, the long-term mission of the company, the long-term financials of the company. I welcome those drops so that I can pick up more shares. I'm still in an accumulation phase with HIMS, so I'll take any drop I can get right now. This is one of those rare types of stocks that I see myself holding for at least the next decade, if not way more than that. Let me know in the comments below if you hold this stock and what you think about this news here today. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments below. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day.